Okay, Greg, you know, in the first segment we talked about why people get mad. So now in this second segment, let's talk about the tone in the meeting and how we can get the temperature down to a nice, enjoyable level.
That's more important than people might think, isn't it?
Yes, it is. It's very important. So if I was to come into a meeting, tell me what you would do for me and just make me feel comfortable. Can you do that?
Well, people coming in are usually tense. You're not coming into a meeting that they're comfortable with.
Well, I've never been to one before, so you know, what do I expect?
So the first thing you do is put your hand out and welcome. Say
Hi, Greg.
I'm Greg.
Chuck.
Good, Chuck. Good to meet you.
Meeting. I've never been there before.
Welcome to the meeting.
Okay, can
have a seat. We're going to be starting in just a minute.
Just anywhere over there?
Well, it depends on what kind of meeting it is, and we'll get into that later. But,
all right.
But a smile and a handshake is a great thing to start with, and then whenever possible during the meeting, use people's first names.
That's a good idea.
Because you start, Mrs. Smith and Mr. Jones and so forth, it sounds like you're not friendly with them, even though they're your neighbors.
Okay, so it just kind of makes them feel more at ease.
Yep, use the first name.
Right.
You're trying to disarm a tense, fearful homeowner, and that will help a lot.
And I was tense and fearful when I came to this meeting tonight, but you've made me feel a lot better already. Good. I like that.
Good.
Thank you.
And when people are there visiting a board meeting, there's board members there, there's a manager there might be an inspector there could be some vendors there, or it could be your attorneys there. Make introductions so people know who everybody is.
So in other words, if everybody knows everybody, or at least has an idea, then it's, they feel like you're being nice, you're treating them right.
And they know why they're there, they know what their role is.
All right, okay.
So it's a lot harder to be angry at someone if they're nice to you. It just is.
Okay.
So that's the idea. Act like a neighbor. You know, when an owner's speaking, the first thing you do is make sure you're looking at him.
Oh, you don't want me looking over here somewhere, huh?
Yeah, he's your neighbor.
Okay, I got it.
He's your neighbor.
All right.
And if he's talking, he came to the meeting to talk to you, if you're a board member. So be nice to him, treat him like a neighbor, look at him. Don't roll your eyes. Sometimes people are saying stuff that you know is bogus.
Wow.
It's just not right.
I just can't believe I heard that.
They don't know it.
I know.
Exactly.
Okay.
And if you don't look at them, and if you don't make expressions that are disdainful and make people feel like you're not listening to them or you don't care about what they're saying, they're going to be a lot more appreciative of your...
You don't want me sitting there looking this, huh?
No rolling of the eyes, no...
What if I'm like this going, oh, I wish this was over?
That's probably how you feel.
Oh, I see.
But it's not exactly what you should be saying. That should not be the way you act. And the other thing is, if you have a homeowner forum, you ever have those in your meetings at the start and the end of the meetings?
Homeowner, oh, I think I
read
read
something.
something.
Right? They get to speak.
Oh, is that like something in the beginning of a meeting?
At the beginning of the meeting, you can speak on things on the agenda. At the end, you can speak on things that aren't.
Oh.
But the point that I'm going to make here is that all too often, board members, again, not realizing how it's going to sound, say something like, okay, you got 3 minutes.
Well, what's wrong with that?
Well, it doesn't sound very nice, does it?
Well, I don't think it's very nice being here, but I'm beginning to understand.
Yeah,
okay.
There you go.
All right.
So in a friendly tone, you can apologize, that you have a busy schedule and that you have to limit speakers to 3 minutes or 4 minutes or 2 minutes, depending upon how many speakers and how much time.
Why is that? Why 3 minutes?
Because if you don't limit the time, you might be there till midnight.
Is that a rule?
Well, setting the time is a rule. The state law, in fact, says it's a rule.
Oh, the state sets that out.
They determine that you can set a time limit.
Okay.
But you're the one who sets the amount of time.
Okay, I got it. All right. So what if we know there are some people in the meeting that have an agenda item and they want to talk about it, but they don't want to wait through the whole meeting and get up and talk? So is there anything we can do about that?
Well, there is, and I think we're going to bring that up in just a minute.
Okay, think so?
But this setting the tone happens most importantly, I think, in a hearing, because things are already tense, aren't they?
They can be.
Have you had that experience?
Oh yeah, I actually had to go through a hearing once, and I didn't understand the time. That was before I was a board member. And they actually explained to me that they are board members first, they're volunteers, and they're actually there to try to help me in the community. And I didn't really understand that, to be honest with you. But after they said that, I did that. They explained to me, for instance, that they don't write violations, they don't do inspections. You know who does that? Community manager or their inspectors do that type of thing.
Yep.
And I realized that what they're telling me is that as a board member, they're not getting paid for what they do. The community manager does, and the community manager has training as their inspectors do. So I started to see where they're coming from.
Well, that's a good point, because I think generally a lot of board members don't have enough training
That's
to
true.
do inspections, to send out letters and so forth. It's not their role.
Well, yes, and you know, actually the board is there to make financial decisions for the community and provide guidance, actually, to the
Policies.
community managers and policies so that they can follow those and they run the community the way they're supposed to. Now, that's the way I understand it.
So you're
anywhere.
saying the board members don't run the association?
That's true, they don't. You know, the day-by-day stuff goes on, that's what the community manager is there to do.
So they take that responsibility.
They take that responsibility, you know?
But you provide the overall direction.
Yeah, that's because our rules and our policies kind of define that for them. So I think that's what we need to remember a lot of times, okay? Actually, as the board, we are an unbiased panel of basically experts if we know the rules and the policies right.
Yep.
So we consider what the manager does,
But
and what the
unbiased
homeowner does.
is the important thing.
Yes,
You're a completely unbiased panel. You got to listen
we have to listen.
and hear what they have to say.
And we got to listen to both sides because we, as that panel, have to decide what's right, what's wrong, is this really something we're concerned about? So we got to listen to both sides. And then we come to a decision or conclusion that I think satisfies everybody, if we can do that.
If you can.
Yeah,
Sometimes they're just in violation.
that's true.
Or sometimes, you know, that isn't really a violation.
And
Now
sometimes,
that you looked at it, it's not really we're going to, you know, it's not going to call that a violation in our community.
that's true.
So by working together, we can solve problems. I think that's the goal of a hearing, is not necessarily to punish someone or anything. It's find the truth, find what's right, and do what's best for the community.
Okay, I
Does
get
that sound
it.
right?
Yep, good deal. So, when
More
some-
setting the tone? Really?
Well, you know, there's a lot to this, more than
Apparently
you would
there
think.
is.
Yeah, it took me a while to learn that I have to really, really be careful, and I have to listen when someone's talking in a meeting. When someone's speaking to me, I have to listen to them, and I don't want to be, oh, here, over there, this and that, not paying attention.
Don't shake your
because-
head when they're
Don't
talking?
shake my head.
No?
Don't look around. You know, I need to look at the homeowner when they're talking, if they're talking to me as a board member, and listen to them. I can't let them know that I'm bored. I might be, but I cannot let them know that.
When they're speaking, though, I mean, what do you do when they're speaking and they're saying stuff that just isn't right?
Well, you got to wait till they're done.
Really?
Yes.
You let them spout that stuff?
Let them spout it out, and then
Right.
you, if you know that they're wrong, need to point out to them what the specifics are. Okay?
After they're done speaking?
After they're done speaking.
So then it's
Don't.
your turn.
That's my turn.
All right.
And you got to remind them that I didn't interrupt you, so don't you interrupt me while I address your issue, okay? It's important, because if we don't, you know what happens?
What?
An argument ensues.
So you
Guess
just go back
what?
and forth and back
Back
and
and forth, you never solve anything. Just goes on and on and on. Can't let that happen. So remind them, hey, I didn't interrupt you, you don't interrupt me.
But if you respond to his issues,
That's okay.
then he knows what? That you were listening to him.
He knows that I heard him.
Even if you respond negatively.
Well, you know, sometimes you just can't agree on certain things, but that's okay. You know, you don't let them know.
But if you can't do what the person wants, there's a reason.
That's true.
And you need to explain the reason, right? I mean, it could be the law, could be the CC&Rs, the rules, or
Could be money constraints. You don't
could
know.
be there's nothing in the budget
That's
for
right.
it, right?
So you got any ideas where people have brought problems up, you know, and then you actually come to a solution that maybe wasn't what they expected?
Well, I've got a couple.
Oh, really?
actually. Yeah, they're kind of interesting.
Well, kind of enlighten me, will you, please? All right.
I was in a situation where we had a guy come to the meeting and he was red-faced angry, just spitting mad, like the picture at the very front of this.
Like this?
Yes.
Ah.
Only worse. He
Worse.
was just jumping up and down angry. And the issue was he had a couple trash cans in front of his house in a little recessed area that was sort of cut out of his
Oh,
house.
imagine that.
And
yeah.
turns out you could see it from the street, which is what?
Well, that's a violation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So he was bound to determine he was not going to put a screen up across there, and he was going to leave them there no matter what.
So I guess you solved that okay,
We
huh?
actually came up with an alternative to fining that
Oh.
you'd be surprised, he actually accepted. And we asked him, would you, I know you don't want to fence the area in, right? We understand that. But would you be willing to plant some large shrubs in front of that area so that it's not visible from the street?
Great idea.
And we were kind of surprised. We expected him, because he was so angry, to say no. He agreed.
Really? Well, that's great.
But that's not the best part of the story.
Oh. Well,
The next day, he calls the president, apologizes for his behavior,
wow, that's great.
and thanked the board for their help.
Great example.
So that's
of
a
how-
good outcome. If we had fined him, we could have just said, look, you're in violation, you're fined.
All right.
And
so
we would eventually probably got it taken care of, but we wouldn't have had a happy outcome.
That's true. So, okay, that's one. You got any other
The
things?
other one
that
is
I can-
a situation that some of you may have had with a real estate investor, buys a home, fixes it up, and he comes to the Architectural Review Committee, or
What?
ARC.
ARC. Is
Yeah.
that's not like, okay.
Not the Ark of the Covenants, it's the
I got it,
Architectural Review
ARC.
Committee.
Okay.
And he applies for permission to paint his roof.
Paint
It's a
his
tile
roof?
It's a tile roof.
Painting a tile roof?
wants
That's
to
not a
paint
good
tile.
idea.
Well, you know why?
Why?
Because the paint can peel, and then you've got something that looks terrible, and it's a maintenance nightmare. And we know that this is a real estate investor who's going to sell the house to a homeowner who's going to be stuck with this problem.
Oh, not a good
Right?
idea. No.
So he was denied, and he came to the board for a hearing to appeal that decision.
Okay. So, well, wait a minute. You say he came to the board to appeal a decision, and you told him not to do it?
Well, we had that option.
I don't understand, I guess.
But we found out in the hearing that he'd already started painting the roof. He got half of it painted.
But you told him not to do it.
Well, he didn't get the letter, he said.
Oh, that sounds familiar.
You heard that
the
before?
letter got lost in the mail.
Never saw
I
it.
got it. Okay.
He got a
Yep.
cease and desist order, but it didn't arrive. You know
Yeah.
how that happens. Anyway,
So what'd you do?
so he was, again, appealing it. It's kind of impossible to remove paint off of a tile roof.
Have you ever tried?
No, but I've heard people talk about it.
It is true.
not
It's hard
doing
to get it
Not
off.
gonna
I know.
happen.
Yep, you're right.
And it's also pretty hard, but possible legally, to force them to redo the roof.
Ooh, not a good idea.
So neither of those two outcomes was the best. So we wanted to give compromise a shot, just like the previous situation said. He owns a real estate investment company, and he also owns a small construction company.
Ah.
So what we ask is, okay, if you think this is so safe and it's not a risk, will you warrant that roof? Your company, on your license, warrant that roof?
I bet he didn't do that though, did he?
No, he said. He did.
He did?
After struggling for a while,
Wow.
he said yes.
Okay.
So the point that we're making here, I think, is that the idea is to be non-threatening, try to find solutions that work, that can work, and try to find a way around just fining. Because fining is, once you fine, then what do you do next? There's nothing left to do.
Left. So what you're telling me is that a fine, I have always understood it, that you don't want to fine, you just want them to comply in some way, correct?
Yeah, that's the only real weapon you have,
Okay.
is to fine. That forces compliance, but you're
That's
after
true.
compliance, not the money.
So I guess you're telling me, and I'm getting the idea, that the friendly tone and the alternate solutions here worked like a charm.
They can.
And you had a much happier community.
You have
right?
to try.
Yeah,
you
well,
may not
you
succeed,
did.
but you have to try.
Yep. So let me talk a little bit about hearings, because I'm going to expand. I told you I was at a hearing. Well, you know, I found out that what they did in the hearing was they invited me to come and sit at the table.
Exactly.
Right with them. And you know, I went, wow, this is pretty good, because now I have my neighbors who are board members, you know. There's the community manager there. And we were like peers.
Yep.
And it made me feel a lot better.
That's the way to
you
do
know?
it. That's the way to do it.
And they reminded me that we were neighbors there. So it was a good feeling to sit there with them in a hearing.
Because if
But-
you have to sit back as though you're not part of the team and you have to speak to them, then they feel like
Yeah.
they're not part of the team, actually,
That's
and that
true.
they're not part of solving the problem, and they're just, pleading for their case.
Okay, so that was a hearing, but is that different than a board meeting? I think it is, if I remember correctly.
totally different.
Totally.
Totally different.
All
In that,
right.
in that case, what is best is to seat all of the members who are attending, not the board, but the visitors,
Okay.
separate from the board, but facing the board.
Okay, I get it.
Okay,
so
so they
they're
can see
over
the
there
board.
and
They
they're
can see the
looking
board.
at me or us, right? I
And
got
then
it.
when you have your as we said earlier, your your forum, your homeowners forum,
Yes.
you invite them up one at a time to approach the board and speak to the board.
Okay.
They're not speaking to the members, they're speaking to the board.
They can just speak forever, right?
No.
They can't?
You're back to finding a better way to say you have 3 minutes.
Oh, 3 minutes again. Wow.
Yep. Well, otherwise, what do you have?
Well, you've got chaos, probably. Yes.
You get a long diatribe, and then you don't have time for that. Then you have to cut somebody off.
Yeah, and we don't want to do that.
It's hard to do that if you haven't told them they have a limit.
All right, so now I understand that, but now I want to speak. I'm a board member, so how do I handle that?
Well, you should respond to if you can. You should respond to the member if they've got a question or a problem. If they've introduced they're complaining about something.
Okay.
It's good to respond. People want to know you heard them. If you don't respond, and I've seen this happen, thank you for your comments.
Yeah,
Well, how do you feel after that?
sure.
You know,
You
so
weren't
if you can
listening very well.
yeah,
Yeah.
or you didn't want to listen.
True.
So once the board meeting starts, the business of the board meeting, the homeowner forum's over. Now we're in the board meeting. We're going through the agenda.
Because that's what a board meeting does, right?
That's the business of the board meeting.
the board meeting. All right.
When you're a board member at that table, you look at the other board member
Like I'm looking at you right now.
or the manager.
Okay.
You do not look at the members sitting out in the audience, because if you do,
Why?
what do you think they're going to do?
Oh, here we go. Another discussion, and that might lead to what?
And they can't participate anyway
Yeah.
legally. So why encourage them to speak and then have to discourage them back?
Okay.
So don't look at them.
All right. So what if we don't have a very big meeting? I've heard that happens in some associations.
I
They
think
don't
you
have a lot of people?
Yeah, you have some flexibility. If you're the chair of the meeting, you can say, we have a light schedule, small audience.
So you mean the 3 minutes we could
We
just
could
kind
say,
of let that go?
we'll give you
All right.
5 minutes. Or,
All right.
how much time do you want to
I
speak?
like that. All
Good.
right.
You may need that.
Okay.
You may also have some members who can actually assist your business that you're doing. Maybe you have a homeowner who is a licensed contractor. You have a homeowner who is an expert in some field that you're considering actions. Now, you can't take their advice directly,
Okay.
because they're not, necessarily contracted with you. But you can listen to what they have to say. They may have some good suggestions.
So we could actually let them.
Let them speak. Yeah.
let
You
their
can ask
items
them
be heard?
questions. Ask them questions.
Okay.
Of course.
Like that.
So that's one of the things you can do,
Okay. So
and make them feel like they're appreciated, but understand that this is a special situation.
all right. So now we've covered hearings.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about board meetings. Are there any other meetings that we need to be aware of?
The other meetings tend to be meetings for members.
What's the
meetings.
difference?
And membership meeting, board meetings, that's the board's business. And
Okay.
membership meeting, it's the membership's business. And the
So?
first order of business is homeowners can speak,
Really? All of them get a chance?
given time limits.
Oh,
Again,
are
yes.
we back to kind of that?
You have to,
Oh.
unless you want to be there till midnight, and you might not have the
The
room
old
till midnight.
3-minute thing again. I got it.
Yeah.
All right. Okay.
But you got to treat it very differently than a board meeting, because
Okay.
now you're not going to have the board up there doing their business and homeowners watching.
Well, give
You're
me
go-
some examples of members' meetings, just so I understand.
Well, what kind of meetings might you have? You might have a budget ratification meeting, believe it or
okay.
not,
Yeah, I understand.
which is usually a very short meeting, but it's a members meeting.
Okay.
You might have a regular annual membership meeting that you have, which is typically what people have every
Okay.
year, to go through, and the board will introduce the budget or how the community's doing, current events,
State of the community.
plans in
Got
the
it.
future, and so
All
forth.
right.
Yep. And then you might also have a meeting, a special meeting, because you got some problem or some issue to deal with in the community
All right. So
that may require the board, the members to actually vote on
I
something.
get the idea there. So, but now all these people are talking. So, and even if you limit them, I mean, can you let them speak right all the way through? I mean, can we interrupt them this time? It's a members' meeting. It's going to go on forever if we don't. I mean, is that rule still there?
I think you follow kind of the same rules in that if you've got a 3-minute time setting, you let them speak and you don't interrupt them.
Okay.
And don't let anybody interrupt them. If you're the chair of a meeting, you can't let other people start talking over top of the person who's talking.
I see.
You have to let them finish, and you don't interrupt them. And then you may, as the chair or one of the board members, say, I'd just like to respond to that.
Okay.
And you can.
So what
Same,
if
same rules.
What if somebody in the audience wants to just jump right on there?
One at a time.
Oh, I get it.
One at a time.
Okay.
The chair has to recognize them. One at a time. We're going to speak on the same subject until the subject's exhausted. The original speaker doesn't get to speak until everybody who wants to speak on the topic wishes to do so.
Okay,
has done
I
so.
got it. And then we can address issues and maybe do something, and maybe we can't. So what if we don't have an answer? You know,
Well-
what if we just can't figure it out right then? What do we do?
Somebody needs to take down the information
And-
about the questioner and the question.
And who might that be?
And it's often the manager or an assistant, or it could be a board member. It depends on your community.
Okay, so now we've got that. So what do we do with the question? I mean,
Well,
the meeting's
the
over.
The most important thing is you have to respond.
Oh.
If you say in a meeting, we'll let you know, and you don't, well, they're going to look at you like, okay, fine. Yeah,
Can I just call them up on the phone?
Nope.
Oh,
No, put it in writing.
put it in writing. Oh, I
They
got
ask
it.
you a question.
Okay.
Other people maybe something you put in the newsletter if it's that kind of a question that homeowners might need to know.
Well, you know, I kind of get the idea about the tone now. So that kind of ends our session on the tone in the meeting. We'll be back shortly, and we're going to tell you some things, or we hope that when things don't work right, we'll give you some clues. We'll be right back.